I'm currently the head of science in secondary at work. So first thing is that I would normally have met you, many of you, in person during this final term in school, and where we would have given you the opportunity to come in and experience life in a year science lesson. Unfortunately, with the remote learning situation, we won't have that possibility. So I've tried to answer most of the questions that many parents ask and many students ask me when they have their transition time. So hopefully this video will answer all of those questions. So the first thing I did was I went to my current year 7 and asked them what they like about science at secondary and how it was different to year 6. Lots of things they talk about is most commonly is about practicals, and you can read those here on the screen in front of you. They like and enjoy the practical work. They think it's fun. They enjoy working in the lab, which some of them had the opportunity to use the labs in year 6 because we have the primary lab, but many of them, obviously all of their lessons are in the lab in secondary, so they enjoy that. They feel that they go into deeper information. They enjoy being independent and actually doing the practical work and testing out their understanding. Many of them like using the Bunsen burners and being independent. So I think we provide them with lots and lots of practical work, and we are so privileged at work to have such fantastic resources, and also having those smaller class sizes than maybe other schools across Dubai. It allows the students to really embrace the practical work and often get that opportunity to work individually with their own set of equipment rather than having to share or work in groups of 3. We really encourage students to work in pairs or individually if they need to, so that they get that full experience and get that hands-on experience, which is so essential for science. So what really are the key differences in secondary science? Well, number one, your child will have a specialist science teacher. They get 3 lessons of science a week, 3 full hours. These will be at separate times during the week. They will have lessons as their form group. They don't set like we don't set in science like other core subjects like maths and English until we actually get to GCSE. We keep them in mixed ability groups all the way through Key Stage 3. Every science lesson, they will have a lab. They have access to a lab. They won't get any lessons that aren't in labs. Every teacher gets their own lab currently in work, so they will go to that same classroom each lesson. It's really different to a regular classroom, so we have to respect the rules for the lab to make sure they and everyone else is safe. And they leave their backpacks outside so we don't trip on them. Usually it's more of a case of the teacher tripping as they're walking around the classroom if the students' backpacks are behind their chair, etc. So we leave them outside in cupboards that we have specially provided outside the labs, so that they are not a trip hazard. We also never eat or drink in the lab. That applies to both staff and students. If they need a sip of water, step outside to do that, and they leave their water bottles out in their backpack. It's really easy to show all of the WEC learner profile attributes in science when we follow all the safety rules, and the key ones are about being responsible. So we encourage the students to take responsibility for their safety. We take it very seriously and we advise them exactly what they need to do. They always stand up when they're doing practical work, so they can easily step away if there's a spillage. They tuck their tie in, they tie their hair back, so it's important that girls with long hair carry a hair tie to be able to tie their hair back for science. They follow our instructions and stop immediately if we ask them to. We wear safety goggles if we need them, and they are encouraged to inform the teacher immediately if there's any spillages or breakages. We're often using liquids, and they can often be spilt, and we use a lot of glass equipment that can easily break, and accidents do happen. So we advise the students very carefully how to ensure they're as safe as possible, and that we expect them to follow those instructions, and if they can't, then they don't carry out practical work. So we are very firm on them, because obviously it's both for their own safety but for everyone around them as well. Being resilient, sometimes as a science teacher you've got 24 students, you want them to help you set up their microscope or help them get their microscope in focus, and actually they need to be resilient and try it for themselves. And science is all about trying things out. Sometimes they don't work, so we try something different. So we really encourage them to look for solutions and show that resilience. And being respectful. We have a fantastic technician, Mrs. Beckett at WEC, and she provides the equipment in it for our lessons, and she will bring it in and lay it out exactly how it's needed. But on the flip side, she also has to do that for all of the science teachers. So we encourage the students to clear up after themselves, return equipment as they found it, dispose of their things carefully and accurately, so that the technician can quickly collect and take it away at the end of the lesson. So they are expected to clean up after themselves. Now here is a picture. It's definitely not a lab at work, and you can see many rules that the students aren't following. This is a good picture to maybe have a chat with your child about and talk about, what is safe and what's not safe. We do this in the first lesson. The first week of lessons is about safety. So students often want to know, well, what do I write in? Where do I showcase my science work? So in Year 7, all students have a yellow A4 science book. They bring it to every lesson. We encourage you to cover the book with plastic to protect it, as it can get wet from experiments, but also from leakages in the bag. And we encourage the students to be really proud of their book. And we also ask you as a parent to look at it regularly. It's also the teacher's way of communicating home. Teachers will mark the student's book or write in the book while they're going around in lesson, and it's really, and often like make a note of if they've awarded a house point, etc. And it's a chance for you to really see exactly what the child has done during that lesson, the quality of work they've produced, the kind of activities they've done. And please do remember that the main difference also is in primary school you have one teacher that you can communicate with on a regular basis about your child, and that teacher spends between 6 hours with your child each day to get to know your child really, really well. We see your child 3 times a week for 1 hour stints, and it takes us maybe a little bit longer to get to know your child really well, but I think the science teachers at WAC are incredibly good at building those relationships with children. But that science teacher also has up to like 10 science classes of students, so they might not be able to communicate to you in the same regular way as you're used to from Year 6, and that's why their book is so important, that you look at the book and you ask your child. We will give your child lots of information, and we expect your child to relay that information to you. And that's part of them becoming independent and taking responsibility for their own learning. So that is really key, that you talk to them and ask them questions first. Obviously, you'll have access to our emails and stuff, so you can always contact us if you do have any questions, but your child can often answer many of the questions that you have. We really encourage presentation rules, and these are also stuck in the student's book along with the safety rules right at the start of the lesson. So students are expected to write in blue or black. We expect them to write the date and title at the start of each lesson and underline it with a ruler. These are all things that they have to have as part of their equipment anyway. We encourage all pictures and diagrams must be drawn in pencil. All tables and graphs should be drawn in pencil and a ruler, and we peer and self-assess our work in green pen, so the students respond to our feedback and mark their own work in green pen. They should not doodle or decorate their book on the pages. Mistakes should be simply crossed out. If students use a book to help them get distracted, like a notepad or something, they can use like the back page of the exercise book, but they shouldn't be drawing pictures and stuff along the side of their notes and in the margins. If they're sitting listening, they should make their work, like be proud of the work that they're producing. Mistakes should be simply crossed out. We don't encourage students to use Tipp-Ex or correction fluid or anything like that. We just want them to cross it out and then move on. And showing your working for all calculations, so showing like what numbers did they type into the calculator or any kind of maths, and laying it out nice and clearly so that you can see any mistakes that they might have made. If we use worksheets, which we don't use that often, we expect them to be stuck unfolded and straight on the page, not like hanging out the book. That way you can clearly see, and you don't have to get lumps and bumps in the book where they've folded a worksheet into 4 and it kind of makes a bump when they're writing in their book at a later page. So all work should be completed with care and attention. They should check the spelling, the punctuation, the grammar, just as they would in any other subject, and use their English skills. So what do they actually study? So we follow the British National Curriculum for Key Stage 3, but we have designed our course around the AQA Key Stage 3 scheme and Oxford University Press scheme of Activate. We don't follow the textbook, so it's not really something that we do. We don't really use textbooks in class very often. So we provide really detailed overview sheets for each topic that are stuck into the student's book. This details exactly what needs to be learned and the keywords for each topic. And we've adapted our course to suit students in Dubai to ensure that we teach content at age-appropriate times, but also to ensure that students cover content in line with national progress assessments, such as the GL assessments that they take at the end of each year in core subjects. Because those GL assessments take into consideration all different curriculums across all the different types of curriculums that we study here in Dubai. We sometimes move topics that may have appeared in Year 7 in the UK into Year 8 and vice versa, to ensure that the students have covered the content relevant to DL and that it flows nicely. And it works with our school and our teachers and our students. So it's a kind of bespoke course that we have designed, and we constantly reflect and improve on it each year. I've included the overview sheets for the first 3 topics that we study in Year 7, and if you wanted to start looking at these topics over the summer, obviously we'll go into detail with them in September, but BBC Bitesize is a fantastic website for Key Stage 3 science, and there's a link there to the AQA page where you can see the Key Stage 3 syllabus. You can see the objective list exactly what the students need to be able to do and what they need to be able to know, and then we have all the keywords on the side so they can look at the definitions. And when we do our quizzes on them, we effectively expect them to know what the word is and also be able to spell it. So and you can see there's lots and lots of words that they need to know for science. It's almost like learning a new language. So the first 3 topics in Year 7 are cells and movement, particles and forces. These are topics that the students will have touched on at Key Stage 2 and even in Key Stage 1. But science is a spiral curriculum where effectively we teach topics and revisit as we go through the years. So keywords for ELL learners, the new language can be really challenging in science. We work really closely with the EL department to develop tools students can use to help them access the language. We sometimes encourage students initially to use Google Translate for certain words because they are very subject specific and they are learning, they might only have their basic English knowledge, so we wouldn't expect them to know the subject specific terminology. So we will allow them to use Google Translate, etc., to see if they have that science understanding or if it's the language that's holding them back. But all students, much of the subject-specific vocabulary is challenging, so we introduce the keywords and the assessment of keywords to ensure students are really better equipped with the correct vocabulary to both access reading materials in science, but also to access the exam questions and to help build the quality of their written answers, which is something that we have noticed since we've introduced this has had a real impact on the students. So for every topic the students cover, they are assessed in 4 things. So most topics last around 9 lessons, which is around 3 weeks, and we record all of our assessment on a program called Go for Schools, which you will learn about in Year 7, which is a live website where you can see students' progress at all times and is updated in real time. So you can see when house points have been awarded or behaviour points have been issued for your child each and every day. Number 1, we test keywords. So the students are provided the keywords at the start of the lesson with the definitions and they have to learn them, and then we will quiz them on their definitions and their spellings, and we record that as a percentage. We provide them with a homework task, which they usually have a number of weeks to complete, and this is a project that helps them to demonstrate their understanding of the topic. Now, that might be a poster, it might be them to make a video, or them to build something, or prepare something, or prepare a presentation, etc. And we assess that homework using a whole school procedure called which is red, amber, green. Red is that the student has not completed the homework to the expected standard, or not completed it at all. Amber results in the student has completed work to a fine standard, and green means that they have gone above and beyond and produced an excellent piece of work. If we award them green for homework, they would receive a house point. We also assess their practical skills, and we tend to choose one aspect of practical work in each unit and look at that in detail. And we use this mastery grid where we use entering, developing, secure, mastery and deepening, and the students can see exactly what they need to do to achieve these things, and when we mark that and give them feedback, they can also see where they need to go next. We would expect most students to meet secure by the end of year 7. A summary online quiz happens at the end, and this tests knowledge from the topic, and this is also recorded as a percentage. We use a website called Educake. This Educake program is something the students are introduced to in year 7, and we use it right the way up to year 11. These questions are a mixture of multiple choice and short answer questions, and it's quite a similar style to the GL assessment, so it works really closely with them. And then 3 times a year we do a written exam during the key assessment window, and this is where students can showcase their understanding in all the topics they've learned at that point in exam format. Students have time to revise, and the exam lasts for a whole lesson. It's important that students try their best in these exams, and lots of support is provided to help prepare students for them. We often produce an adapted paper for students who have lower English levels, which allows them to access the vocabulary slightly better, but doesn't really change the content. And some students who require it might have a reader or someone to write for them, or they might have a short amount of extra time if they require that support. We use the mastery scale for our written exams, and we base it on these 3 assessment objectives. AO1 is about recall of content, so effectively a student who is secure can recall some relevant content, but for all topics. AO2 is about application of knowledge, so they can use their content knowledge to explain new situations, and AO3 is about explaining experiments and starting to use data analysis, etc. So these are used, and the expected attainment in year 7 is secure, which is based on KHDA guidelines, and above expected attainment is mastery level. How do we give feedback? Well, science teachers give feedback in every lesson by asking students questions, looking at the work they do. Sometimes they might ask students to self-mark their work if it's a very clear yes/no answer, or right and wrong. They might mark another student's work, or the teacher will take books in and mark the student's work themselves. And teachers in secondary tend to mark in red pen. So here you can see the teacher has used what we call SID marking. They provided a strength for what the student has completed, an improvement task, and then the D is effectively the dialogue where the student can respond and complete the task. Often the task is formulated in a question. So you can see here a student has been trying to balance equations, have written their explanations about the reactions, and then talking about how to balance an equation. That's an extension and a skill that students need to move right up to GCSE. So it's just something that they clearly struggled with, the balancing of the equation here. So that's been asked again, and in that question there, and a task and a chance for them to be reflective. And then after an exam, students get a really detailed breakdown of how they did in each topic. This is a chance, really, that's where our communication to you comes into play, because you can see exactly which topics the students did well on, which question they did well on, and it gives them the opportunity to look back at the questions, look at the mark scheme, and to retry questions and consider how they would do if they got to repeat the assessment again and learn from their mistakes. And actually that reflection process after the exam is as valuable as the exam itself, and allowing the student to help identify their strengths and their weaknesses, to make sure that they can repair their weaknesses and bring them up to the same position. I hope that's been really useful. I'm conscious that there's lots of information, so I have provided a link to the PDF so that you can read all of this at your own leisure and share it with your children in year 6. We look forward to meeting your children in the next academic year, and I hope that they will really enjoy science. Between them now, if you want to follow us on Instagram, we are wet_science, where you can see lots of work that the students are producing, and activities and suggestions of things that they could be doing while they're at home. Stay safe and stay home.